For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Shannon de Rehove. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you.
Now, in the last week, there have been 2 court judgments supporting rural democracy. And in the same week, there also appears to be new turmoil in the NPA. What does all of this mean for the administration of justice?
Yes, I think it's important that we talk about the administration of justice and not just the courts. And also, it's not just the courts and criminal justice, because there are also civil cases. For example, if Oscar Pistorius was not found guilty of murder, he can still be sued by the family of Reeva Steenkamp. And it may well be that in a civil case that they do find that he had the intention to kill, because the standard of proof is different. In a criminal case, it's got to be beyond reasonable doubt. That if there's the slightest doubt, you have to acquit the person. But in a civil case, it's called on a balance of probabilities. Now, both the cases that were decided in regard to rural areas last week were civil cases. And in the other interview, I was indicating that civil cases are difficult to bring for rural communities because they need money. But let us turn to the National Prosecuting Authority. When this man, Shaun Abrahams, was appointed, many people applauded this because he was a career prosecutor, I was going to say career politician, which is maybe a Freudian slip because he's now made decisions that have political significance. They applauded this, and one of the last wishes of Nkosana was that his deputy, Nomgcobo Jiba, should be charged, which she was facing charges of perjury and fraud. And these have just been withdrawn. They've been withdrawn on the basis that the lower level prosecutor who's going to bring the case makes the decision. Now, we don't really know exactly what the reasons were. What we do know is that judges in the case of that man Boysens in the KwaZulu-Natal police force made scathing remarks about Jiba, suggesting that she's lied and she hadn't applied her mind to the case, all sorts of things that were unethical. And consequently, the Bar Council is also taking action, is also taking action to have her removed from the role of advocates. Now, Jiba has clearly demonstrated that she's very loyal to Zuma. For example, when the spy case courts initially said they must hand over the tapes, she refused, and was only at the level of the Supreme Court of Appeal that the Zuma defense team admitted that they had no reason to withhold it, which is a real abuse of taxpayers' money. And then eventually they were handed over. So what Abrahams has done here, not only have those charges been withdrawn, but also she's been made into some sort of super deputy director with a lot of control over when prosecutions are made, when they're not made. And some people have suggested that Abrahams is actually Jiba's man, rather than Jiba being accountable to Abrahams. So we have a problem here in that in everyone's mind is whoever heads the NPA is going to have to decide on whether or not to reinstitute charges against Zuma. For that reason, Zuma probably appointed Menzies Simelane as the first NPA director after he became president, and the courts said he was not a fit person to hold it. And Corruption Watch and Freedom Under Law have brought an action saying that the exit package given to Nkosana is illegal, and they related this to Zuma being an interested party in relation to who holds the position of director of NPA, and he was not a fit person to decide that Nkosana should exit, nor to appoint a future person. So you've got a lot of these things simmering. It may also be that the Bar Council succeeds in removing Jiba from the role of advocates. Then she's not allowed to be in the NPA in that position. You've got to be an admitted advocate to hold that position. So I think it is part of a broader turmoil and attack on the integrity of institutions. We've this week seen a Carol Payton article in the Business Day, also in other newspapers, to the effect that there is some probably fake intelligence report suggesting that Western intelligence agencies more or less controlled people like Trevor Manuel and Mario Ramos. There's a lot of mischief being done in a number of institutions. We've seen that SARS has been affected. Now people are worried that the Treasury is one of the institutions, except for the SARS thing, which has remained unaffected, and that they're now starting to go for them. So I see the NPA, the administration of justice, as having two tendencies. On the one hand, you had a unanimous decision of the Constitutional Court upholding rural democracy, the rights of communities to establish community property associations, and that they, whether they're men, women, chiefs or commoners, they must all have a right to make this claim for land that was taken under apartheid. It was a unanimous judgment of 11 judges. And what was interesting to me as a former academic is that the way they phrased it was one judgment by Judge Chris Jafter, and they all went along with that judgment. But he refers to freedom songs during the struggle period. Now, you would never have had that sort of thing in a judgment in the pre-1994 period. And I think what they are trying to do is incorporate the spirit of the Constitution, which is a spirit of restitution, a spirit of democracy, a spirit of emancipation. So, you know, there's these two different tendencies.
What of the judiciary?
You know, the judiciary has got, as I'm indicating, it's got quite a well-developed sense of its role as the safeguard of the Constitution. In the case in the Eastern Cape and this Constitutional Court case, the judiciary has indicated that irrespective of the government's tendency now to favour traditional leaders, they have a duty to the poorest of the poor, because restitution is not meant to make those who already have property acquire more property. Restitution is meant to restore land to those who had no land. So the judgment pitted Chief Pilane against community property associations and also the Department of Rural Development, which had failed to register these. Now, the Constitutional Court made it clear that they should have recognized this community property association, and that they did doesn't affect the right of communities to make this claim. So I think you've got hopeful signs and you've got problematic signs.
Well, thank you. We hope to hear more on that.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about having confidence in the administration of justice.